What's up, Facebook Live? Good to be here. Happy, what is it, Monday?
Monday.
Happy Monday. Hopefully you are having an amazing day.
Hi.
As you're tuning in, we would love to know, one, where you're tuning in from, and number two, we'd love to know 3 things that you're grateful for. I am grateful for my wife.
I'm grateful for you.
And I'm grateful for all y'all tuning in, and I'm grateful for today. We're moving into a brand new place over in Sausalito for a month, and I'm excited to see it. So welcome, welcome, welcome. As you're tuning in, I'd love to know where you're tuning in from and 3 things you are grateful for. It's hot up here.
I'll open the window.
Perfect. Anyways, so welcome, welcome, welcome. As you're tuning in, today we're going to be talking about playing to your strengths and how this can actually boost your performance and happiness. We're going to be talking about calibrating to your new environment, an environment that at one point in your life could have been the absolute most amazing, greatest dream you could ever dream of, but is now an environment or situation that literally stresses you out, frustrates you, or causes anxiety and tension in your life. So how do you get it back to that new beginning where you're excited about it again? And then the third thing we're going to be talking about today is the concept and thought of how do you get ratios to act in your favor, especially in creating a high-performance work environment. So if you want your team to succeed or you want your relationship to succeed, there's certain ratios of success that we want to help you tune into that'll help you maximize the situation and get the most out of it. And these are studied ratios consistently that show up based on science and research that show you if you can keep these ratios, you will keep your team at the absolute best. So as you're tuning in, I'd love to know real quick, right down here in the comment section, number 1, where you're tuning in from. And number 2, I'd love to know 3 things you are grateful for. All you got to do is type it right down here. I'm very grateful that my wife, don't open that one. That one causes that giant painting to fall over. But I think these 2 open are perfect, Mush. Thank you. So welcome, welcome, welcome. All you have to do, right down there in the comment section, type in where you're tuning in from, as well as 3 things you are grateful for. Timothy, what's up? Thankful for Ohio's beautiful weather, my amazing wife, my broken foot, and it's quickly healing. Ooh, sorry to hear about that foot. Hopefully it heals quickly. And let's get started. So as you're tuning in, I see the number ticking up. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're very glad you're here. Roger from Austin, Texas. Grateful for friends, family, and business. Very cool. So as you're tuning in, I see the number keep ticking up. I'd love to know, 1, where you're tuning in from, and number 2, I'd love to know 3 things you are grateful for. All you got to do is drop it right down here. Now, the reason we go over that so consistently in these live chats is because, according to research at Harvard, they found that when someone can identify at least 3 new gratitudes per day, it is one key factor in activating something they call the happiness advantage. Actually, hold on to this real quick. You chat with them about that, and I'm going to run downstairs and grab my computer.
Hi, guys. Happy Monday. Hi, Jaden. Hi, Matthew. You're grateful for lots of money, gray hair, and psychology. That's awesome. Hello to your beautiful wife. Hi, Roger. Thank you. I hope everyone's having an awesome Monday. I think he wanted me to talk about the happiness advantage, and I'll leave that to him because he's been studying a lot about it lately. If you get a chance, hi, Kristen. If you get a chance, look up Sean Anchor, Happiness, TED, and I'm sure you'll find a really great video. Hi, Stuart. Great to see you. Alicia, hi, SoCal. I'm grateful for having utilities paid. Oh, that's awesome. Food for my children, my relationship with God. That is wonderful, beautiful. Phil Hunt, happy Tuesday from Australia. Awesome. Hope you guys are having a great week. Hope Monday was amazing. Ours is really wonderful. We had an amazing walk this morning out in nature. I highly recommend that. It's good for the soul kind of stuff. And then got some work done, read quite a bit. Naples, Florida. Hi, Alice. Grateful for being able to work from home. That's very nice. Not for everyone, but very nice for those who love it. My cat, my friends who are tech savvy. Friends that are tech savvy are awesome. We appreciate them. Hi, Joan. She says, hi, beautifuls. It was so great seeing you for Jorge and Sam's wedding. Hope you guys had safe travels home. And all right, he's back.
Okay, so I was taking notes earlier today. Thank you for all of you who are participating. All you need to do, if you want, Chase, nice to see you. Joan, nice to see you. Oh, hi, Joan. Hopefully you guys had a fun trip in San Diego after the wedding there. Stuart says, grateful, thankful for JRC TV. He likes the episode for this week that's up.
Nice.
So I want to give you a little bit more substance because I keep telling you that happiness brings all these great things into your life. But according to Sean Anker, who's one of the researchers and authors from Harvard, there were over 200 studies done on over 275,000 people concluded that happiness leads to success in nearly every domain of our lives, including more success in marriage, health, friendship, community involvement, creativity, jobs, career, and business. Happy workers, specifically at the workplace, if you have a team or an office, have higher levels of productivity, produce higher sales results, perform better in leadership positions, receive higher performance ratings, receive higher pay, for those of you out there who have the job and want more money, and enjoy more job security, which is also nice. They're less likely, if they're happy, to take sick days, to quit, or to become burnt out. Now, happy CEOs, for those of you who own companies out there, they are more likely to lead teams of employees who are both happy, healthy, and find work climate conducive to high performance. Now, here's what's fascinating. I'll throw a study out there and going down this. There's something else called the broaden and build theory. When we're primed for happiness, meaning right now, I'm going to prime you for happiness, and this is how simple it is. I'd love you to think right now something that has happened in the past, let's say 7 days of your life that made you extremely, extremely happy. Something in your life, a moment, a special relationship, something beautiful that happened, just a moment that brought happiness and joy to who you were. As soon as you have that in your mind, let me know you have it. Just write down here, say, I've got it, just so I know you have one of those. So as soon as you have a happy moment in your mind, I just want you to type me a little note and say, I've got one, or I have it. And I'll wait until I see some of those popping up. Jaden says, got it. Phil, got it. Got it. Antoine, got it. Kristen, got it. Perfect, perfect, perfect. So I see you all are getting those happy moments. Heather, got it. Perfect. So here's what that does. It's called a broadening effect, and this is by Barbara Fredrickson. When we are primed for happiness, we are about to broaden the amount of possibilities we process, making us more thoughtful, creative, and open to new ideas. So here's what's amazing. The broadening effect is a biological effect that dopamine and serotonin are released into our brains from the happiness priming it causes. It helps us to better organize information, better keep the information that the brain is receiving longer, and it helps us retrieve it faster. So what is priming? It's just what you did right there. That 30 seconds of thinking to a very specific moment that caused you to feel happy. And that's primed your brain to literally be more open to ideas, more creative about stirring up ideas, and more thoughtful in what you're about to do. It's that simple. Now, let me tell you something absolutely crazy and insane. Jaden, so simple. Absolutely so simple. P.S. I did not come up with all this stuff. I've been reading a book on happiness called The Happiness Advantage by Sean Anker. Absolutely recommend it. Another study that came through, and I'll read this to you real quick, and then we'll dive into the topics we said we're going to talk about today. So one of the most famous longitudinal studies on happiness comes from an unlikely place, the old diaries of Catholic nuns. These 180 nuns were from the school. There were the School Sisters of Notre Dame, all born before 1917. They were asked to write down their thoughts in an autobiographical journal entry, so just stuff that happened throughout the day. That's all they were asked to write down. More than 5 decades later, a clever group of researchers decided to code the entries for positive emotional content, so just comb through them and see if there are ratios. Could their level of positivity as a 20-year-old predict how the rest of their lives turned out? In fact, yes. The nuns whose journal entries had more overtly joyful content lived nearly 10 years longer than the nuns whose entries were more negative or neutral. By age 85, 90% of the happiest quartile of nuns were still alive, compared to only 34% of the least happy quarter of nuns. Clearly, the nuns who were happy at 20 didn't feel that way because they knew their life was going to turn out and they were going to live longer. Their superior health and longer lifespans could only be the result of their happiness. So a big portion I'm in the book right now as I'm reading is, well, do people who achieve more and have more success in their life become more happy? Or do happier people achieve more and find a way to have more success in life? And this was one of the studies that showed it's the people who are found a way to be happy that landed up achieving more, in this case, living longer and staying healthier than all their other peers in the exact same position as them. So just some thoughts, and we're going to keep dropping all kinds of information on happiness. To get started, we're going to start off by focusing on your strengths. So focusing on your strengths. This is something that they call your signature strengths, which I found a website called VIA, so VIA, and then character, CHARACTER.org. So viacharacter.org. If anyone wants to type that in the little comment so other people can have it. But if you go to viacharacter.org, you can actually take a survey that shows you something called your signature strengths of your personality. Oh, thank you, my beautiful wife, for typing that. So your signature strengths of your personality, here's what research shows. When you use one of your signature strengths, it boosts happiness in the moment. So right now, what I'd love you to do is think about, what do you feel is a hidden talent or signature strength that you have? And I'm going to turn it over to my wife. What are some of the signature strengths you have?
Oh, pop quiz.
Pop quiz. What do you got?
One of my signature strengths that I have, and I know this because we did Strengths Finder.
So
another
great, awesome test.
Yeah, another great one is Strengths Finder 5.0, I think.
2.0.
2.0? Okay. Check that out. That's a cool one too. And one of my strengths that stood out was that I was an includer. I like to include everyone all the time.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, according to this, if you were to go apply your signature strength of including people, what that does is that allows you to instantly have a boost of happiness. So dopamine kicks in, serotonin kicks in. It literally boosts your level of happiness by playing to your signature strength.
I completely agree.
So one of my signature strengths that I really, really, really love is physical hands-on contribution. It's something that's built into my DNA that I pride myself, I think, at being good at. And it's just going out of my way to do something nice for another human being. Or another way to say it is the empathy of caring for someone. When I see a situation that they're in a tough situation, there's a lot of empathy that builds up inside of me that literally like pulls me to go help them. And when I go do that, I feel very, very, very on like a natural high afterwards. It feels very exciting to me. My heart races. I get excited. Days afterwards, I'll think back to those moments and feel really excited and grateful for it. So just a thought there. Julia, hello, Jairek and Amanda, and from Toronto. Grateful for my husband, living in a great country, amazing network of support and friends. Big thanks for inspiring me. Amanda's so sweet and kind. Yes, Joan. She is, Joan. Antoine, strengths, automatic empathy, and delayed anger in confrontational situations. That's huge. Huge, Antoine.
That's awesome.
What a great thing to have. So automatic empathy. So the ability that when shit gets crazy and people are getting all stirred up, you can automatically start thinking of how the other side must feel. And delayed anger in confrontational situations. So you'd be a great negotiator, it sounds like.
I'd wonder, Antoine, share with us where you think you might have learned those from.
Carla says, that is cool. Heather says, you two have great hearts. Thanks, you.
Heather.
So I want to know real quick, as y'all are thinking through this, what is your or one of your signature strengths? Thank you for all those awesome thumbs up. See you floating by there. I'd love to know, what is one of your signature strengths? Also, what's another signature strength we have? One of my wife's signature strength that I recognize in her is her cooking.
Bah.
Oh, Joan just said that. So Joan loves to cook for people.
Yes.
So here's the clue. If you're ever having a tough week, or you're ever like, oh, I don't feel that great today, you've got a case of the Mondays, which I always think is feeling awesome about your day, but some people call that other things. But if you have one of those days where you're kind of down, you're kind of dragging, what you can do is immediately go back to something you see as a signature strength and apply it. And what happens is it instantaneously boosts your mood, instantaneously kicks off some dopamine and some serotonin, and brings you back to life. Elaine says authenticity. So going to a place where you can authentically share with other people or connect with other people would be instantaneously a booster for you, Elaine.
Beautiful.
Jaden says, I also highly recommend Clifton Strength Finder survey. It's not free, but I found it incredible. That's awesome.
Oh, thanks for sharing.
Thank you for that. Matthew says, food is from the soul. I think my wife agrees with that.
Yeah.
Also
And is good for the soul.
It's good for the soul and the belly. Antoine says, I think it came from people watching, observing, and being around people with big hearts. It sort of came contagious and infectious. That's awesome.
Agree.
That would be the sign of a signature strength, something you picked up along the way that's kind of naturally built into your DNA.
And it seems so simple, actually, when you think about it. If you do naturally feel so great when you can share your strengths and play to your strengths.
That's true.
Yeah. Versus when you can't. It's kind of lame.
Let's see. Matt says, I've been doing quite a few random acts of kindness recently. I feel great, and great to know I and anybody else has the ability to make other people good. Top book, by the way. Awesome.
Beautiful.
Alicia says, I help anyone in need, and I am my family's first call always. Oh, that's an awesome signature strength.
Yeah.
So really, truly digging in this first piece, and I'd ask anyone who's watching, whether you've had the ability to comment or not. If you do, thank you. If you don't, that's okay. Please grab a pen and paper and write down at least 3 or 4 signature strengths, and I'll brainstorm. What are their signature strengths? Strengths of mine, I really, really, really love sitting down and just learning new things, especially if whatever I'm learning, I can immediately turn around and, like I'm doing right now, share it with other people to add value to them. That's something I would say is a signature strength. I love hunting down useful concepts and paying them forward and sharing them with others. What's another signature strength you have?
Of yours, also, I remember from Strengths Finder, it was like doing really great things. So when you do things, you don't just do mediocre. You like go above and beyond in whatever you do.
Okay.
It's true. I remember that. I was like,
I'll
that's
accept
so
that.
True.
Sounds cool. Thank you for that. Let's see. Joan says, my grandma always said, the more you give, the more you receive by giving of yourself. That's so true.
It's so true.
So true. I love that. Yulia, learning can become a distraction also. It can, but what we're talking about right now is signature strengths. So something that really, really, truly is just, Matt says, compassion, giving, and family. Joan says, give with your heart always. Yulia, absolutely true. So if learning is not a signature strength that you have, it's not something that you're naturally talented at or that builds you or boosts you every time you do it, then yeah, it could be a massive distraction for you. It just happens to be one of my personal signature strengths. So I love that. So as we're going through this, the other thing we're going to do is, as some of you are thinking of your signature strengths, feel free to share them. We'll go back and read them. The second piece we're going to be talking about was
adapting to new environments.
Adapting or what was it called?
It's like an identity shift. You're attached to an identity, so when you adapt or calibrate to a new environment.
Calibrating the new environments. So calibrating or adapting to new environments is what we're going to talk about. And Amanda and I were talking about this morning on our morning walk. We were hiking up in the hills here.
So beautiful.
Beautiful. And we were talking about, in the book, people were asking this gentleman, Sean, why he would study happiness at, Joan says, sometimes just being a good listener to a friend. That could be an awesome,
that's an amazing strength.
Signature strength. Some people talk a lot. I happen to be one of those people. But Amanda happens to be one of the people, like you said, that can really, really, truly listen.
Really? That's so sweet. I'm a talker, too. I try to listen.
You're a great listener, though, and you're a great question asker.
Thanks.
You are. Let's see. Heather says, my signature strength would be compassion, resilience, and action towards equality. That's awesome. Elaine says, I love to observe unique qualities in people and help them figure out how to apply the highest use. Strength Finder calls it individuality, development, and restorative.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. Very cool, Elaine. I love that. Very, very cool. Second topic. So keep typing them in. We love to hear what other people's signature strengths are because it also gives everyone watching more ideas in case they haven't identified theirs yet. The second topic we're going to talk about is adapting to new environments. And what happens is many times the gentleman in the book was talking about how when students are working towards achieving the ability to get to Harvard, getting to Harvard and studying at Harvard is one of the greatest things they could imagine doing. So he's talking about how if they could just get to Harvard, if they could just study at Harvard, it would be the most amazing thing ever. And what ends up happening, though, is when they get to Harvard, which is really fascinating, when they get to Harvard, that same thing that used to be the greatest dream they could ever imagine now becomes the biggest stress in their life. And people were trying to figure out, how in the world could this become possible? How in the world is, if I could just make it to Harvard, if I could study at Harvard, if I could be a student at Harvard, everything would be amazing if I could just get in. And they work, and they take all the tests, and they work so hard on their grades, and they do all the extracurriculars, and they finally get into Harvard, only to show up there completely stressed out. I think the ratio was 1 in 5 students over their 4 years there will face personal depression. It's like, how in the world are people depressed going to Harvard? Like, these are the best, the brightest, the smartest individuals out there who work so hard to get there, and now they're depressed at this place that was supposedly their dream of achievement. Now, pause real quick. If you take that template and bring it into your life or anyone else's that you know, here's what's really crazy and interesting to think about. In your life, what was something that you dreamed about, wished about, worked so hard for? If you could just get that position, if you could just get that job, if you could just get that person to be in a relationship with, if you could just have those perfect kids, if you could just live in that house, if you could just do something, whatever that thing was that you wanted to do, and then you got it. And it slowly went from being the greatest thing you could ever imagine to something that now brings frustration, fear, anxiety, stress into your life. This is something worth focusing on. Because at one point, it was the greatest thing you could ever imagine happening or being a part of. And now it's something that absolutely brings stress and frustration into your life. Now, if you can think of a moment like that, the key becomes really, truly reshifting how you see it. But there's a more important part here. The first part is just a realization that you need to recalibrate. Now, Amanda and I were talking about this because it was really interesting. Her experience of us first working together. Are you okay to share it?
Yeah.
Okay. And I'll give you a little pre-frame, or I'll let her share it.
Oh man, do you want the whole story or
The whole story, or pieces of it, the highlights for them.
Okay, so in a nutshell, when it comes to identity and doing well in certain circumstances, I'd always...
Ooh, careful where you hold it. There's a mic down there somewhere, and I've muffled it before.
Oh, hello?
Hello?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hello? Okay, so in a nutshell, so he was talking about... How do you hold it?
On the sides. See that
Oh,
mic?
that's the mic?
Yeah.
Oops. Sorry, guys. Okay, so I think he wants me to share the story about when we first started working together. So
Yes.
it sounds awesome, right? You get to leave your full-time job and work with your spouse and travel all around the world and do cool things and help people, and it was amazing. And I was very, 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 very excited to join him, and I was honored that he saw the talent that I had in marketing and creating and design and all that jazz. So I was flattered when he invited me. And then it hit me like pretty hard when, like, a couple months in, I don't know, I just started to realize that certain things were missing and that there was a huge identity shift, actually. And I didn't realize it until after sharing with a friend that I was like a little upset. I felt a little lonely and a little sad, which is somewhat of a foreign feeling to me. I'm generally a happy person. And so, and it was the weirdest thing. And she was like, you know, she was very blunt about it, actually. And she said, most people would kill to be in your position. And I was like, are you calling me ungrateful? I am so grateful. And in no sense was I ever intending to sound like I was complaining or ungrateful in the least sense. I was insanely grateful. But what I realized was my identity was very much kind of wrapped around being in environments where I was insanely celebrated, rewarded, praised. I was in teams. I was often the leader. I can't express that enough. It was always a lot of people leading teams, doing great things, and my ideas were always like, that's awesome, that's great, let's do it. And not that I'm huge. Anyone that's ever worked with me knows I'm huge on working in teams and huge on collaboration, and no way do I ever think that my idea is the best in the room. In fact, I encourage other people to challenge it and come up with better ideas. But all of a sudden, I found myself in a place where I didn't have a team anymore, and I wasn't really leading one, and in fact, the ideas that I would share weren't always greatly celebrated. And not that Jairek didn't love them; he thought they were great. But I was like, if I had an idea, I made it happen straight away. And now I was working with someone who he previously had worked kind of on his own as a solopreneur, if you will. And so he would kind of have the idea and make it happen. And so my ideas were just that. They're ideas, but they may or may not have actually been executed. And in previous environments, they always were. So fast forward, it was a bit of, it was weird. It was a really different adjustment. I think also, always earning my own paycheck and kind of tying the value that I provided to an organization or group was, I could easily see that in a paycheck. So it was also, there's so many different things, and it was quite a hard adjustment. And again, in no way am I like bitching or complaining about it. I am so, so grateful. And every day I share in my gratitude how grateful I am that we're able to work together. But what I did realize was that, that a lot of my identity was tied to my professional success. And so letting that go and kind of being a little bit more behind the scenes, which actually I really adore. I love cheering him on and supporting him. And in no way am I ever looking for it to be in the spotlight. And so I usually make fun of myself when I am. And it was anyways, it was just challenging and different. So on our walk this morning, we were talking about how when he was sharing that story, I was like, my eyes filled up with tears. I was like, I can actually, that hits home for me quite a bit. And the biggest takeaway was, as I was going through that transition of kind of readapting to this new environment, this new work environment, and without, a huge team and without, promotions and all that jazz, whether it was in school or in work or in internships or whatever, with all letting that go and realizing that like, it's a bit unhealthy to be attached to an identity. I think identities are beautiful and they're important and they definitely serve you. But if you really want to grow in life or in your relationship or in your career, really in any part of your life, if you want to really grow, then you have to be willing to embrace an identity and allow it to serve you for as long as it does. And then as soon as that identity is no longer serving you, like let it go. And like, that's the past. That was great. It served me. And now this is a new environment and this is maybe a new identity, but not becoming too attached to it where it actually does cause depression or sadness or loneliness. And so actually, I could kind of understand what the Harvard kids were going through, even though I hope that I got through it a lot quicker. And I hope that no one ever struggles with that too much. But I'm sure then we started to talk about how different people, such as moms, or we talked about a ton of different people that can go through identity crisis or shifts or whatever, and how to get through them. Okay, I think he wants it back.
So here's what's interesting.
Was that helpful?
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing. And I wanted her to share that because what's interesting for us in the moment when we go through an experience, no matter what the experience is, if it's the kid getting into Harvard, who, if you could just do that, that'd be the greatest dream in the world. And then you get there and now your greatest dream that everyone's going, oh, that's amazing, that's amazing, that's amazing. Now that you have it, you're going, oh my God, I'm stressed out, I'm lonely. I think it was 1 in 3 or 1 in 5 kids at Harvard have depression over the first 5 years. What are you depressed at Harvard for? You're the smartest, the best, the brightest at the greatest school on earth, supposedly. At least your dining hall looks like Harry Potter. It's cool. Mm-hmm. But all this stuff's happening. And according to outside perspective, they'll tell you, what in the world, boo-hoo, what are you crying about? Some kid at Harvard who's crying about being lonely or crying about being stressed. And same thing, people would hear my wife's story and go, oh my gosh, what is she complaining about?
Well, I told one person in confidentiality because I knew that I was in a very, very fortunate position And I knew this was actually something that I had really thought would be cool one day down the road to share and a common mission and to work together in business with my significant other. I always thought that would be amazing, and that's the key thing. I think that one, being aware of that you're not glamorizing something too much, because with everything, like, it could be great, but there's going to be challenges in any new chapter, major change in life. And two, now realizing that, like, not to wrap yourself or attach yourself too much to an identity.
There's a piece here. The reason that we brought this up was, I don't know if you clearly said that. I think you did. This was one of your dreams way back when, you always wanted to have a company with your significant other that you guys could run together.
Yeah, I was very much an entrepreneur at heart, and I always had hoped that we would be able to do that together.
And it came true. And when it came true, as amazing as it was, and as awesome as it was, and as fun as it was, there was also these moments of, it's draining me, and this doesn't what I thought, and that happened, and this happened, and now I'm stressed, and I'm not celebrated. And at one time, I was the best of what I had to offer, and I was celebrated and cherished, and everyone said, you're amazing, this is incredible, great work, great work, great work. I say a lot of those things all the time.
You do.
It's just different.
You do.
And it's because it's different that it doesn't always feel the same. Same thing, that kid who went to Harvard, they were going from this environment where they're the best, the brightest, the strongest, the top 1%. And when you get to Harvard, now you're not the top 1%, because only 1% of the kids at Harvard are going to be that, and all the rest you're going to be the bottom 90% or everyone else. And that starts screwing with all their identities, because they start looking around going, oh my God, I was always the best, the brightest, the strongest, the fastest, the quickest, the everything. Now I'm just normal. Oh, shoot. Now apply this to your life. And this is where it gets tricky, because not everyone can see this so clearly, or some people can immediately. And for those of you who can, great work. For those of you who might not see it, I guarantee there's a moment, like Amanda said, where you might have become a mother recently. And all of a sudden, as this strong, independent woman who's running her own business and kicking butt and being all this person, now you've become a mom, and it's like a whole new... Elaine, it's not so much that Harvard defines fulfillment. It's the thought process of a dream someone had in their life. If I could only get to that position. So it's someone saying, if I could just get to be a CEO of a company, if I could just get that job at that company, if I could just have, a child, if I could just, marry the right person, if I could just travel to the right country, or if I could just live in the right house, or if I could just, it's the presumption that if I could just get to the other side of this mountain, then everything's going to turn out amazing. Using the kids who go to Harvard as an example of, if they could just get to Harvard, everything was going to turn out for them in their life as they thought.
I think
real quick, let me finish this thought just a second, and I'll throw it back to you. So the thought becomes, in that moment, what happens is you transition from being a quote unquote expert, or the best, or the strongest, or the top, or the elite in whatever you're doing, to, let's say you're a Fortune 100 CEO, you're a female executive, you've busted through every glass ceiling, you've conquered everything you've done, and all of a sudden you decide to have a baby, you get pregnant, the little puppy pops out, you got this little one, and now you're just an average mom. And not because that's what you call yourself, just that's how you feel, because you don't know all the best and brightest insights. You haven't discovered 30 years of experience of raising a child. You've never gone down this path before. Now people, instead of are always celebrating you, saying, oh my God, you're the best, the brightest, the strongest, the most amazing. They're like, oh, you shouldn't wipe your child's face like that, or, oh, you shouldn't clean their butt like this, or, oh, you wore that out, you put that outfit on your child, it's colder outside, you shouldn't do that, or you wrap them too tight in a blanket. All of a sudden, all these little things that were once, you're amazing, you're incredible, you're the best, you're the brightest, you're the amazing, are now telling you things that went wrong, you shouldn't have done, you shouldn't do, that shouldn't be that way. And it's not just criticism. It's something that you might be doing to yourself as well in that moment. Because it doesn't have to be from the outside. It's all of a sudden you look at what you're doing and start going, dang, I don't know what I'm doing. I was always so certain, I was always so confident, I was always so strong in everything that was going on. Now I'm kind of losing that. And your identity starts to shift in your own head from being the best, the brightest, the strongest, the elite, to oh no, I feel like I'm kind of just average, if not below average in what I'm doing. And the moment that happens, it starts to take away your identity of feeling fulfilled, going back to the whole strengths concept in the beginning. It takes away your identity of now when you do it, it no longer boosts you immediately because it feels like you're applying your strengths in life. It now starts to kind of pull you down and makes you a little uncomfortable and gives you a position of like, oh, I don't know if I should do that again, or I'm not as comfortable doing it. But I want to toss this back to my wife because she's making very cute faces back here. What is going on?
I was just thinking.
I know you were thinking. I'm watching all these wonderful faces.
I'm sorry.
What things would you like to share?
I just want to add to it because part of it that you were saying was it's having this idea that once I get here, I will be happy. I think that's for some. And then there's also the part, and you started to touch on it, and that's why I was smirking because you were going in that direction. For me, it wasn't once I get here, I'll be happy. It wasn't once I work with my spouse, I'll be happy or anything of that nature. Actually, was what you were just saying, which it was, it became more of the positive reinforcement. I was getting so much positive reinforcement as I, going down this certain path that, and like we were talking about this morning, the tricky part is when you get so much positive reinforcement for something, it's a beautiful thing. And you must be careful not to tie your self-worth or your self-confidence to that positive reinforcement. That was the part that I was smirking about. And then you started to talk about how playing to your strengths. And I think that actually in our business, and when people are like, how I say, we've learned so much since we started working together. And one of the most major breakthroughs I would say that we've had in our business is actually playing to our strengths. Because it used to be, we were all just kind of doing this and doing that and just kind of divide and conquer and all that jazz. And I was doing some things that weren't, and I think this is part of the reason why I was getting a little upset, was I was doing things I didn't necessarily love. And I know that that's part of starting your business or running a business, is you won't always do those things. But the most important part was that I wasn't playing to my strengths. So sure, I can get down, I can get my hands dirty. I'm not afraid of that. The grind is fine with me. And if I wasn't balancing it out with actually doing things that I truly, truly love and that are truly my strengths, you're obviously going to burn out very quickly and you would feel upset. So I think it's a little bit of both. It's one, having this mountain. It's like, once I get there, I'll be happy. It's also being positively reinforced for certain things. And then when you're no longer getting that same kind of positive reinforcement, you've fallen off your mountain.
Yep. And there's a very, very, very special and unique ratio for this. One, in relationships, but two, within corporations, which I just found out today. There's something in relationships. There's a Gottman Institute, and they found that you need at least a 5-to-1 ratio, 5 positives to every 1 negative, to keep a positive, lasting, building, healthy relationship that's going to last. That's what they found. So they did research and studies, and it's not just what you say to each other. It's comments, experiences, expressions, moving towards each other versus moving away from each other, like all these different things that they watch. So when someone says something, does the other person go and pull away, or does the other person go, oh, and move towards them? When someone says something, does the other person kind of like, oh, why are they saying that again? Or is the other person, yeah, it's very close. So there's lots of different pieces here.
Oh, well, I don't think it doesn't apply to all, though, right?
Yes, it applies to all.
Because I make a lot of funny, I just am thinking sometimes.
My wife has funny thinking faces, like,
I'm digesting the thought.
I just tease her. I tease her all the time.
I'll work on my poker face.
I make her faces back at her sometimes, and she goes, I'm not doing that, am I? I'm like, yeah, that's what your face looks like. I realize you're just thinking. Sometimes you're like...
I'll practice a...
Just joking. So here's what they found, though. 5-to-1 ratio, positive to negative. So for every 1 negative interaction, thought, experience, expression, anything like that, you need at least 5 to keep a healthy, passionate, strong, lasting, which is the key, relationship, in an intimate relationship. There's now something called the Losada line, which they found this specific ratio within organizations that you need a 2.9013 happy to 1 negative. So about 3-to-1 ratio of comments, experiences, and expressions to stay productive and stay alive as an organization. If you want to grow, so how you spell it is Losada, Losada, Losada line.
I'll type it.
They found you need basically a 3-to-1 ratio of negative comments, experiences, or expressions to positive. So positive 3 to every 1 negative comment, experience, or expression to stay productive and stay alive. Here's what's really fascinating. The ideal of real rampant growth and recovery and all these amazing things is a 6-to-1 ratio. So you got to think about it. And here's what's fascinating that they said to capture. And this goes back to how we were communicating and stuff that might not have felt as great in the beginning when we first started working together. I found when I work by myself, I would just storm through so many different things that had to happen every day. Whether it's working on the website, getting something done, having something made, getting something created, posting something, filming something, editing something, jumping on a coaching call, really delivering for them, monitoring, tracking, staying productive, managing our finances, like all the details of running a small business on your own. If you have one, I'm sure you know them. They're not complicated, it's just part of the deal. And I happily did all those things. The challenge was I had gotten so into the flow and rhythm of doing all those things that I also have a personality that's not necessarily great for building teams. If I hand off a project to someone else and they don't get it done at the same level of intensity or as the same fashion I would do it in the same amount of time I would do it, even though they're new, this cognitively doesn't make sense to me. And I know this is a mistake, but even if they're new, if they can't do it in 10 seconds like I can, I'll literally just take it right back from them and say, never mind, I'll do it. Sounds like a Robbins thing. Possibility. Dad's a lot better at this than I am nowadays. But that whole thought, if you can't do it as good as I can, as quickly as I can, I'll take it right. I'll hand it to you and say, do it. You can't do it. I'll take it right back and do it myself. So what I've learned is that doesn't tend to leave the best flavor in people's mouths. Because even though they're wonderful, I admire what they do. If it just needs to get done today, it needs to get done today. And if you can do it, wonderful. If you can't, oh well. And no hard feelings. I just need it done. And so what ended up happening is Amanda was coming in, and what she was talented at and rewarded for is she's the type of person that would fit well on a Navy SEAL team. Because
You're so sweet.
Navy SEALs are trained that as a unit, what happens is if she's person A and I'm person B and there's person C, D, E, F, and G on our team, if we were to go in, as soon as person A completes their tasks, they immediately go to B and say, what are you working on? Can I help? As soon as A and B complete B's task, they go to C and go, what are you working on? Can we help? And then they go down the chain until everything's completed as a mission. Instead of saying, hey, I took care of myself, I'm done for the day, good luck on your stuff, they literally go over and they help you. And they pitch in as teamwork. Even though they did all their heavy lifting for the day, they immediately come and help you lift your load for the day. It's amazing. Really amazing teamwork. Amanda has that capacity and capability and drive to do that naturally. So she would go work on projects for the day, get done with some of the things she was working on, immediately come over and say, hey, let me help you with what you're doing. She would start offloading tasks from my plate, which would free me up slightly. And then at the end of the day, I would come back towards the end and say, hey, are these things done? Now, because some of the things were not as you know, she wasn't as skilled in them, she hadn't done them as long as I have, she didn't have the same insight as I did because it was in my head, not on her plate. And then all these little different factors that would add up, I would go and go, oh my God, it's not done yet? We needed that 10 minutes ago. Shoot, give it back to me. And that moment, the ratio of feedback, if you think about it, was not in our favor. That wasn't me walking over going, oh my God, you're great at this. Oh my God, you're amazing at this. Oh my God, wow. You know, instead of praising and acknowledging and appreciating and giving 3 positives to every one, I would go over and go, oh my gosh, it's not done. I need it back, which would feel in an experience, a comment, or an expression. The interaction wouldn't feel positive. It would feel negative. And I have an odd feeling if we were to rewind and watch videotapes of our first interactions in those moments, I don't believe we had a powerful positive 3-to-1 ratio. I don't think we did. In the business sense. In a personal sense, I think we were fine.
Totally different. Yeah.
In a personal sense, we own this.
Off the charts.
In a business sense, I think this owned us for the first so many months, if not, 4 or 5 months of working together.
Yeah, probably.
And all that was happening was our ratio was out of whack in our business. And because of that, our team was struggling, meaning we were not having the best interactions in the beginning as far as just business goes. Personal lives, when we weren't working together, oh my gosh, we had so much fun. We went and did silly stuff. We traveled. We had, this huge 5-to-1's probably silly. We probably have like 20 positives to any one negative thing that pops up in personal lives. But business, let's kick their butts. And our thought is, instead of falling away from it, I finally saw something just today where I went, oh my God. And I started looking back at the past, wherever we had bumps in the road or struggles or stuff we had to figure out, and thinking, what was the ratio of interactions? Now, Elaine says, SEALs, you're not done till the team is done. That's how it's done as a SEAL. And Amanda has that natural instinct as part of who she is, which is beautiful. The challenge was, it was me. I didn't have the natural capacity to keep a positive 3-to-1 ratio, even though I'm a very positive human being. Obviously, I talk about positivity and happiness all the freaking time. The part that I was missing was naturally, I was doing something I had learned a long time ago called a feedback sandwich on my good days. On my bad days, I was just like, here, give it to me. I'll handle it. And that's not a positive interaction. On my good days, even at my good, I was still messing up and I didn't even realize it. On my great days, I was saying, what you did is really amazing, and I really appreciate it, and that was incredible, and this part and that part were awesome, and you're so great at this. What could improve is this, this, and this. Now, also, I just want to wrap up by saying thank you for being so loving and giving and hardworking and all this other stuff. But you got to look back at the ratio. That's still only a 2-to-1 ratio. That's not enough. Matt says, how did you change? So one thing I've learned, my belief is every interaction is either a cry for help and an act of love. And I started to hear the cry for help, and to say it in a loving way. I started to see that what I'm doing is not adding up to us having a fulfilling, lasting, loving, amazing career together. You know, love life together, relationship together as just individuals, off the charts. Working together, I was like, uh-oh, if this went another 10 years like this, I don't think we would be good to go in that area. And so consciously, I became very, very, very aware. And even to the day, I've become very, very, very aware. And I cognitively and consciously practice to always, always, always keep that ratio as high as humanly possible. Meaning, when I see her working on something and she's editing something, I'll walk over and I'll make sure to consciously look for 3 things I appreciate about them and voice them as fast as possible. Wow, I really appreciate that title. That's amazing. Great work there. Wow. Oh my God, you got our JRC TV done a day early. Great work. That's awesome. I could never do that on my own. You're amazing. How do you do it? Not only that, oh my God, I'm really impressed at how well you manage our team members. Really, truly. Like I try purposely and consciously to voice these things as often as possible, to purposely keep our ratio within our business together as high as possible, positive to negative. Now, does that mean negative stuff doesn't come up? No, it comes up. Stuff needs adjusting. Stuff doesn't get done on time. Stuff, we freak out and have that stuff. But what I did is I rewound, and I said, what's most important? Getting something done at a specific date, at a specific time, in a specific way, which is crucial to business, or us having a team that's flourishing and strong and passionate. I said, which one's going to be more important down the road? Now, this happens to be our relationship as a couple as well. So obviously, it's easy to see what's most important. Now, if you were to dig in and you happen to be a business owner or a leader or a manager or an owner of a company in any way, shape, or form, or a CEO, CFO, anything in a position of leadership in your family even, I would challenge you to comb back over the last 7 days of your life and try to figure out, hey, are y'all keeping a positive, at least 5-to-1 ratio in your relationship, 5 positives to any criticism or negatives? And in your business, are you at least keeping a bare minimum of 3-to-1 positive interactions to every 1 negative? So 3 positive to every 1 negative. And that could be in comments towards each other, experiences of what's happening. So an experience was like me walking in and going, it's not done. Oh my God, I'll do it, and taking it off her plate. That's an experience that's just created, but it's not a positive one. So how do you create a positive one versus negative? And the finally one is expressions. So sometimes the facial expressions or the body expressions you hold towards each other. And in the example the speaker gives in the book, he says, I remember having this meeting with all these like CEOs and executives, and there was this one lady who sat in the front row, and the whole thing, she had her head tilted, she had this weird look on her face, she had her arms crossed, and the whole time she was kind of shaking her head like this, looking at him, and he's thinking, oh my goodness, this lady obviously hates whatever I'm talking about, and she must be so frustrated about what's going on, because she's giving me all these negative cues. And at the end, she waits in line with all the people, comes up to him and goes, oh my God, I loved your presentation. It was awesome.
Story of my life.
And what happened though, is by the expression she was portraying the entire time, it was telling him that something's wrong. This is not right. The ratio's off. And so this is something you want to consider to yourself. Most people are not physically aware of how they represent what they're doing. You're great at this.
I got to get better at that.
You're great at this. But most people are very unaware of this. So one thing you might want to do is, even when you watch this, set up a little video over here or look in the mirror every so often and check out what your face looks like. Are you like the whole time? Or are you like, or are you smiling and something that when you look at yourself, you're like, wow, that's a positive expression. You want to train yourself so that when you're in your workplace, when you're around other people, you purposefully express these things to keep the ratio in your favor. And some of it's probably unconscious and just the way we look when we're thinking. I don't know how you do it, but I know funny faces I make every now and then. One thing I did years ago that was fascinating was I filmed myself speaking to a group, and I watched how I looked in between moments and pauses. And I made some really, really awkward facial expressions and gestures, and I didn't even know about it. So I became very cognitive of it, and I sat down and I practiced. And I practiced, smiling in between moments and looking at people when really allowing my eyes to reflect love, as if I was pouring love into them, and just that moment of connecting with them and making, smiling with your eyes and like all these simple little things that can bring the ratio to your favor when practicing. Obviously, the number one most important piece is it has to be authentic. You can't bullshit through this. People feel that, and that's one of those experiences. It has to be authentic, has to be real, but it's something that you can practice. Is that Lily dog telling us she's hungry?
I'll go check.
Okay. We have a puppy downstairs. Sounds like she might be telling us she's hungry. Guy Kawasaki is amazing at a positive public speaking face. I have to watch him, see what he looks like. I've never seen him speak. Anyways, we thought this stuff was useful. So from the top, just to review real quick, let me bring this up. We were talking about ratios, adapting the new environments and really making sure that you don't allow your identity to get caught up in who you used to be or what used to happen, but really truly adapting to the new environment of where you're at. And then the final piece, let me bring this back up. The final piece that we were kind of queuing in there. Whoa, what is all this stuff? Ratio success, focusing on your strengths and adapting to new environments, which was really important. So hopefully this was useful for you. Oh, delete that there. Perfect. Yulia says, I love this topic on 1 to 5. I find it will make massive difference for us. I was struggling with some aspects when I forgot and start providing opportunities to see more improvements with my husband. Great thing to practice. Thanks a lot, Jairek. You're so very welcome. Let's see, Jaden, read an excellent short version of the book Jairek Robbins is talking about, 15 minutes. Oh, cool. You found a Cliff Notes version of that. Thanks, Jaden. Matt says, you two are awesome. Thank you for all the top advice. You're so welcome. And again, what we do here, if people haven't caught on, is I go out and gather all kinds of awesome information that I think and believe would be useful for others. And then we pay it forward and we bring it over to you and we use it. And this is the same stuff we go out and gather and bring to our coaching clients in one-on-one fashion. This is the same stuff we bring to our consulting when we go work for companies. It's not that we're sitting here coming up with all this amazing, profound knowledge. We're out there researching and gathering as fast and as much as we can, and then bringing it to places that it becomes incredibly useful and helping them apply it. That's what we do. Matt, you've kept the guy up late. It's 2 a.m. in the UK. Well, go to bed, Matt. Thank you for staying up. Farhad, good. So that's funny. The post before you, Matt, says, good morning from Japan. Awesome topic for today. Perfect for us. Best timing since we're moving to a new environment. Matt says right below it, you've kept me up late. It's 2 a.m. Hey, Sue, nice to see you. Y'all, Sue, you and Lindsay have to come visit us. We have bunk beds for y'all in Sausalito at our house here. So y'all need to come visit and hang out in San Francisco. It's fun over here. We'll ride bikes across the bridge. Joan, thank you for tuning in.
Thanks for joining us.
We're actually going to go move into our new home now here for a month. So hope y'all have an amazing evening, morning, day, afternoon, wherever you're tuning in from. And if you found this useful and you believe someone you know in your community could have value from this, click that share button and tell them what of value might be in here for them. if it's the 2-to-1 ratio, if it's adapting to new environments, if it's whatever it is that you heard that might be of value for them, please just tell them what would be useful. Bunk beds, awesome, says Sue. Yeah, bunk beds for you and Lindsay. I guess you could have the main room if you want, but we thought bunk beds would be more fun. Just saying. Joan, wish you both the best and on the move. Thank you. Kelly, I'll be sharing. Thank you. So y'all have an amazing, amazing day. Jane says Sausalito is a great vibe. Yes, we're pumped about it. Antoine, thanks so much. Shared. Wonderful. Thank you so much for everyone who takes the time to share these. We really appreciate all the help and love and support of getting out to more people. Hope y'all have an amazing day, and we'll see y'all later.